Hello. It is late in the day because my internet went down earlier in the day. And then I was on calls most of the day with the most amazing clients. I really, 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 really love my clients. And if you are one of the people who talked to me today, you get to do a little happy dance in your office because it made me really, really happy to hang out with you today. So, the subject of my video today is what do you do when you're just feeling really pissed? So I know we all go there sometimes, and it's not a very pleasant feeling, and that's what I want to talk about right now because I'm having a feeling in my body that is not a particularly enjoyable feeling. And when we get pissed, when we get triggered, when something gets awakened in us, it's actually an invitation to to do a little archaeology and see where does that feeling come from. So the thing that triggered me, and I am going to show you a really fun power way to get rid of it. The thing that triggered me is I was confused about something. I heard two different things. It was like, I was asking for directions, and the person said go left at the corner, and then the next time I asked the same question, the person said go right at the corner. And so I didn't know which way to go. And so I reached out to the person and I said, which way should I go? And because I'm confused and I got conflicting information, and I need some clarification because I don't know what my next step is. And rather than getting a response that was you should do it this way or you should do it this way, I kind of got my hand slapped. And the response was, I don't even know how to put into words what the response was, but because it doesn't really matter what the response was. But I want to share with you what the feeling was, because I was asking for clarification, and rather than getting a direct, clear, specific answer, which is how I like to get information. I don't like to, if somebody says go left or go right, like just tell me, do I go left or do I go right? Don't make me figure it out. Don't make me drive around in circles and get lost. Just give me the directions and I will follow them. And instead of getting clear directions, the response was, I don't like the way you're asking for help. and partly like my jaw was on the floor because I still didn't get an answer. And partly, it was an attack on me because I was asking for help, but the person didn't like the way I was asking for help, so they didn't give me help. And why am I bringing this up? Because we're constantly in situations where we ask, and we're asking through the lenses that we're wearing. So we see the world in a particular way through our glasses. It's like we're wearing prescription glasses, and the prescription is ground to whatever it is that we're myopic about. And oh, thank you, Christine, so much. Two different things trigger you to be unbalanced. I don't understand your question, so type in your question again. What I was saying was that I was confused because when the first time I asked directions, they told me the directions were ABC. And the second time I asked for directions, they told me the directions were DEF. So I was given two conflicting sets of directions. I knew one of them was right, but I didn't know which one to follow. I didn't understand, Christine, I didn't understand your comment. You wrote two different things trigger you to be unbalanced. So I didn't know what you meant by your comment. Anyway, so what's my point? My point is that we're all wearing these prescription glasses and we see the world through those lenses. So whatever the person who responded to me, she was obviously hearing something different from me saying, I got conflicting directions, and which one should I follow? Which one should I follow? I was just asking. I didn't understand. There was no attack, or it wasn't being confrontational. It was just saying, hey, I'm not sure which way I go. Can you give me some, remind me, because I heard two different things. And if I go this way, I'm going to end up in this place, and if I go that way, I'm going to end up in that place. So I just need some clarity. And I guess, why is it triggering me? Because the person who received it didn't receive it in the way that I was asking. And the way the person received it was super defensive, which made me feel not safe. And so what do we do when we're in that situation, right? So clearly it has nothing to do with this communication. It activated something in me where I reach out and I'm vulnerable and I say, hey, I don't get something, I need help. And the response was, to me, it felt like F you. And I don't know if the person's intention was F you or not, right? At some point, this person and I will have a face-to-face conversation and we'll deal with it. But in that interim place where there's lack of clarity, and it was all done over electronic communication, so there wasn't voice communication and it wasn't face-to-face. So there's huge room for error. So what do you do when you have that experience? So what I do when I have that experience is I know neuroplastically, from a neuroplasticity standpoint, that I have landed in the terrain of some other time in my life where I felt disrespected, where the response is both you ask for help and you're not going to get it. So that triggers in me this old pattern of I have to do everything by myself. And it also triggers a pattern of, oh, I'm going to ask for help and I'm not going to get it. And I was asking from a place of, hey, I don't understand. Can you help me understand, right? There was no attack in any of it. It was just, I'm confused and I'd love you to clarify because I don't think I understood what you were saying. And the person didn't receive it that way because she wasn't hearing my voice. And it was actually, to make it even more confusing, the person that I asked the question of didn't respond, somebody else responded. So somebody responded who wasn't even part of the original conversation. So it got completely distorted. And this is something that we all experience in our families of origin. And in fact, we experience this in our communication in general, where we think we're saying one thing and somebody hears it in a different way. So it's all valuable, right? It's valuable for me to see that somebody else heard me as being confrontational, which was not where I was coming from, and that wasn't my intention, but that's the lenses that she is looking at the world through. So that's how she saw it. And how do we deal with that when we have these encounters? I think what can be super valuable is to be on the phone and to say, hey, I'm really curious, like, what did you hear in that situation? And then I get to say, this is what I was experiencing in this situation. And then we get to say to each other, oh, I can hear how it came off as confrontational, or, oh, I can see how you were confused, and I'm sorry I didn't answer your question clearly, right? It's just an opportunity for more clarity. So how do you deal with that if you're feeling super, super agitated? So one of the ways that I love the best is to come back into your body. And so how do you do that? You close your eyes and you begin to really feel every place that you're feeling support. So even when I'm like this, I can feel the support of the table. I can feel the support of the chair. So you begin by feeling supported. Feel the support of your feet on the earth. And then you begin by breathing in through your nose and feel the support of breath. And as you're feeling the support of breath, feel how you are receiving the breath, how you are both breathing in and you are being breathed, how you feel your body receiving what you're asking. Right? Because one of the ways that we get so disconnected is when we feel like we're not being heard and not being supported. Hi, beauty. Hi, Lucinda. I'm super inspired by our conversation, and I'm talking about how I got triggered today, and I was doing a breathing exercise, so you get to do the breathing again. So you feel the breathing, and when you feel yourself allowing breath to come in, you allow yourself to receive support from the breath. When you allow yourself to feel the support of the chair, of the table, of of the earth underneath your feet, you're feeling that support of something bigger than you. And you can even feel the support in your body. So when you start to breathe in, you can gently, we call this in yoga Ujjayi breathing. Ujjayi means victorious, and it's a way of standing in your power and feeling your victory. Rather than being a victim, you feel that you're conquering your breath. That's actually what the root of the word victory and victorious is conquer. And the root of conquer actually is really interesting. The root of that word is seeking. And so it's like looking, it's seeking and asking. And so when you feel your support through your victorious breath, you're going to start to feel a gentle, almost engagement of the throat muscles. And then as you take the breath down, almost like you're taking an elevator down into your body, you just start to squeeze. It's almost like, you know how your digestive system does peristalsis? It does this squeeze action all the way down. So you're doing that energetically with the breath as it's coming in. And you feel it through your throat. And you just squeeze circumferentially from the circumference to the core. Squeeze the muscles in your chest. Squeeze the muscles in your intercostal muscles, the muscles between your ribs. Squeeze the shoulder blades down the back. Squeeze all those erector muscles down the spine. Squeeze in at the core. Squeeze in at the navel. Squeeze at the root, the rectum, the sex organs. Keep squeezing the muscles around your thighs, your glutes, your knees, your calves. Squeezing all the way down, and press that energy into earth. And you pour everything into earth. You remind yourself that you're here, that you're present. And when you're feeling your presence, when you're feeling that vibration of presence, you know, it just allows for, oh, we had a miscommunication, right? That's okay, right? And then you feel more love, and you feel more compassion, and you feel more how it must have hurt the other person when they misinterpreted, right? They were interpreting through their lenses, and I was interpreting through my lenses, and it just makes everything feeling that it's all part of it. Feeling support, yes, is about receiving. That's exactly right. And that's exactly why I was feeling disconnected, was because I wasn't feeling received. And they're the same. So when somebody doesn't receive us in the way that we're asking, for a lot of people, we disconnect. And that creates pain. It can create physical pain in the body. It can create emotional pain. Eventually, if that's unchecked, it can turn into literal dis-ease in the body. So it's a great tool to always come back to your breath, come back to your sensation. And once you're feeling not so reactive, and you're feeling back in contact with yourself, then you can reach out again and say, it seems like we've had a miscommunication. And then you can get on the phone, and that's a much better way, or even get on Skype or Zoom if they're not in your town, and have that eye contact, and have that voice contact, and have that body language, because so much gets miscommunicated over email, which is really, I think, what my learning is that it's really easy to miscommunicate in email. And that's not the intention, and yet that sometimes is the result. So that's just what I want to share, is that, you know, it's part of being human that we inadvertently hurt people, right? My asking for help inadvertently made the person I was asking for help feel attacked. And because it wasn't she wasn't watching me, and she wasn't listening to my tone of voice, and she didn't hear where I was coming from, or she didn't hear the love in my come from, and the I totally trust you, and I'm totally asking for guidance. You know, she didn't hear any of that. I'm aware that there's so much to communication, and so that's just what I'm wanting to share today, is, you know, feeling vulnerable, and also feeling powerful, and feeling loving, and feeling compassionate, and feeling forgiving, and feeling curious about what was going on. I have no idea what was going on with this person, but I could tell from the response that something in my asking triggered her, which then triggered me because it's my friend, right? And so it's all good, right? And we get to see that we carry all those pieces inside of us, and it's really just what I call the isness of my business, and it's the isness of your business, and it's the isness of being human, is that sometimes, we're doing our best and we still trip and unintentionally annoy people, and I didn't mean to, and I'll clear it up, and that's it, right? And I feel so much better even having just shared this, because I see from so many of you who are watching that all of us get triggered, and all of us unintentionally, like, we trip or we speak in a way that, even if it's our way of speaking, isn't the way that the other person wants to be spoken to. There's this book that was super popular a while ago that was called The 5 Love Languages. And apologies to the author if I'm misquoting the title. But the 5 love languages, the 5 languages that we communicate with that make us feel most loved, sometimes we get into trouble with because we speak a language that the recipient doesn't speak or doesn't understand. And those 5 languages, one is verbal. So one is asking in a verbal way. One is touch, one is doing nice things, one is quality time, and one is buying things for the other person. And I know that I happen to be super literal, and I take things literally. So if somebody says go left or go right, I want to know which way should I go. And the reality is, if you went there left and then you went right, and if you went left and then right, you'd get there. And if you went right and left, you'd get there. So, like, from the bigger picture, I realize I could get there anyway. It doesn't really matter, right? So, like, that's a big insight too. I could get there anyway because all roads go there. So there was a part of me that was wanting somebody to tell me what's the next step in the strategy. All interesting. It's so fascinating, right? It's so fascinating. There is no right, there is no wrong, and it's all good. So I hope that was useful. I would love to know what you got out of this, and have a beautiful day, and be in the isness of you, because we are. That's a complete sentence. You are. Lots of love. And I'll see you tomorrow. And we're on day 95. Woohoo!